中国这么大，永远读不完。上个礼拜六，你所不知道的中国第3季在咱们江苏卫视励志新闻客户端和 BBC 新闻频道同步播出，获得了热烈反响。片中所展现的中国传奇，让外籍嘉宾赞叹不已，更让中国人感到自豪。那么今天呢，我们将前往中国东北，在那儿不仅有隆冬时节银装素裹的美丽风貌，更有鲜为人知的产业和神奇发现。大国风范，中国国园，邀请您收看《你所不知道的中国》。现在呢，就让我们一起出发，去领略广袤黑土地上那些你所不知道的故事。
大国风范，中国国园，邀请您收看《你所不知道的中国》。
China is changing. In the last 10 years, it's seen the most extraordinary transformation in every aspect of modern life. Its economy, its technology, its transport, and its culture.
In this series, we'll be exploring one of the most varied and surprising countries in the world. From the remote mountains and diversity of the southwest
to the frozen lands of the northeast. And from huge deserts to teeming cities.
We'll see how people all over China are facing the challenges of the future, whilst preserving the traditions of their past.
Welcome to Tales from Modern China.
In this program, we're in China's northeast region, one of the most remote and mysterious parts of the country. Jason tries his hand at making wine in sub-zero temperatures.
And there's a real sense of urgency in the air.
Cameron explores the future of car testing.
Hey, that was nice!
And the treasures below the surface that have made this area world famous.
I've never seen anything like this in my life.
China's northeast region is the country's production powerhouse, a hub for heavy industry and grain farming. It's also famous for its extremely cold winters. Some places are covered in snow for up to 7 months of the year. The tiny, frozen town of Mudanjiang, nicknamed Snowtown, might seem like an unlikely place to visit for your holiday. Located in the most northerly province in China, it's only accessible by icy mountain roads. But visitors come in their droves, because what greets them is a village like no other in China. In the past decade, Snowtown has been reinvented as a winter wonderland, a key destination for the domestic tourism industry. Over 600,000 tourists come here every year to experience sleigh rides, snow treks, and local delicacies. Love it. Blow-drying fruit. Rock solid. Let's have a go. It's exactly what I need in this weather. Frozen fruit. But Snowtown wasn't always this popular. Before the tourists arrived, this remote outpost was part of the logging industry. But as trade slowed, people struggled to make a living. The town was facing hard times when in 1986, photographer Wang Fusun came to explore the snow-covered landscape.
但是从来没看到这么大的雪，让我非常震撼感动。
Wang's photos of this strange, frozen world won competitions and appeared in magazines across the nation. One image in particular captured the public's imagination. A grandmother holding a small child in front of a house totally immersed in snow. The little girl, Liu Yuanyuan, still lives and works here. She hasn't seen Wang Fusun since the day he took that famous photo.
I am so excited for him. I think this is going to be quite a special moment.
好，
你好，王老师。这终于见着你了，特别感谢啊！
好，
真的30多年了。 哎，对，就这个。
这
啊，
这小照
这是唯一我跟我奶奶唯一的。
Yuan Yuan's grandmother, who died in 2005, looked after her growing up while her parents worked long hours.
我2岁，我奶奶给我看到大的。
最看
对对，就是从我记忆里，就是我最真爱、最疼我的就是我奶奶了。
没有想到，当时就是顺手排的嘛。
当年你要不出这么多作品的话，也没有人知道这个小地方。
A glimpse of the old times does still exist in this region, if you know where to find it.
Only half an hour away, 150 residents call the town of Yong'an home. This traditional settlement is similar to what Snowtown would have looked like before it was discovered by eager visitors.
Most of the people in Yong'an worked in the timber industry, but to avoid deforestation, in 2014, the government banned commercial logging in natural forests. So many of the former loggers now have jobs in conservation. Today, I'm doing a survey with Jiang Chuanbin and Wang Zaisun so they can plan their spring tree planting. But getting to the survey site isn't as easy as I'd imagined. Finally, back on firm ground, the areas are carefully plotted out with string so the trees inside can be assessed. If there aren't enough trees, more will be planted. The forests of Heilongjiang are a crucial part of the environment, protecting the soil in local farmlands from erosion.
所以对这个环境还是很重要的一个事情。
对对对，你像都放光了以后，它风就随便走了，就是。
Despite attempts to move loggers into conservation roles, the villagers in the region are feeling the effects of the ban. Zhang Shuzhen and Zhang Tingxiang came to Yong'an decades ago to work in the timber industry.
这都是老树林子，这就那时候咱俩都住大棚，哪有房子？好一家整个大棚，尖子上个小板儿，就这讲究的，以后再盖这些个房。
你们觉得这个禁止采伐有对这里有什么影响吗？
冬天要不没活，都上双峰打工去了。
Like many, the Zhangs have seen their children leave the area, but now it looks like tourism may offer new hope.
雪乡现在行了，家家都是那样哈，家家都招游客，哪有不招的？
是的，
家家
是的。
你没看像我们这嘎达一般的有的妇女啥的，都上双峰给当服务员。
都当服务员去。
When I first came to Snowtown and I saw all the tourism, could have assumed that the commercial aspect of it has perhaps trodden on the toes of tradition. But what's apparent, having spoken to these guys, is that all the tourists flocking here has given Snowtown and its surrounding areas an absolute lifeline. The challenge for the future will be preserving this traditional way of life while developing the tourism which will help it survive.
Far away from the snowy forests of Heilongjiang lies another important landscape. But here, it's what lies hidden beneath the surface that's put this corner of China on the map. This extraordinary story starts in the province of Liaoning, in the small village of Sihetun.
It's a pretty normal village. It's small, only around 200 people live here, and most of them are farmers making a living off the land.
Yang Shuhai has lived in the area all his life. But in the mid-1990s, he stumbled across an astounding discovery.
小时候也就是上山就玩去，就是捡些小鱼小虾，挖的呢就见到骨头了，看到骨头啥，感觉这是什么东西呀？
发现什么？
就这个恐龙化石啊，就是慢慢一点一点起挖，那种铲到铲，完了那个它越挖越大，现在最后边将近1米左右，出来这个东西，现在这个。也经过科学家说这是无价之宝，感觉很好。
But this was just the tip of the iceberg. China's fossil fields have now provided science with over 170 different types of dinosaur. That's about a sixth of the world's known dinosaur species. And Liaoning is the fossil epicenter. It wasn't just animals that were turned to stone. These ancient forests were petrified too. But it's not a coincidence that so many fossils have been found in this corner of China.
Scientists believe that this part of the world possessed exactly the right environmental conditions over 100 million years ago to create this astonishing fossil graveyard.
Continual volcanic eruptions killed the dinosaurs here, and they were swiftly buried in ash. This sealed their remains from oxygen, preventing decomposition and preserving them as fossils. But as Song Shuang from the Bird and Fossil Geopark in Chaoyang tells me, there was something special about this particular volcanic ash.
当时的火山灰特别的细，它的那个颗粒特别的小。
可以看到什么细节呢？
那个每一个化石都保存得特别的精美。我们可以看到有那个，甚至就是软组织，就像高清电视一样。
As each new set of fossilized bones is discovered, it must be painstakingly cleaned. A fine needle, vibrating at a high frequency, is used to blast the mud away from the fossil, slowly releasing each bone from its volcanic ash coffin. And when you've got a lot of skeletons, you need a really big cupboard.
我没想到有这么多。I've never seen anything like this in my life.
I've come to one of Jinzhou's fossil storage centers with Professor Lu Juncheng from the Chinese Academy of Geological Sciences, one of China's leading dinosaur fossil experts.
这个博物馆里边有3万年的标本，脊椎动物标本，吞恐龙。
觉得它要活起来，还是要对它温柔一点。
Amongst the thousands of finds from this part of China, one changed the course of paleontology and shone a global spotlight on Liaoning. A feathered dinosaur named Sinosauropteryx, or Chinese reptile wing. Today, I'm lucky enough to see an example of this extraordinary creature.
一条一条的，这个原始羽毛，
很柔的。
对，很柔的，很柔软的一个。这个尾巴它也有，所以长长尾巴。
Since the discovery of this crucial missing evolutionary link, many more feathered dinosaurs have been unearthed here.
具有爬行动物特征，它具有鸟的一些原始特征。从这个鸟由这个恐龙演化过来一个直接的证据。
These breathtaking finds have brought scientists from across the world to study why dinosaurs had feathers, and even how they eventually took to the air. Coming up next on Tales from Modern China, Jason tries his hand at frozen farming. And I take to the ice on the biggest test track in Asia.
Moment of truth.
这是一次非同寻常的讲述，中英联合摄制，全流程深度合作。这是一次激动人心的体验，用国际化视角解读中国传奇。
中国这么大，永远读不完。
跟我一起发现
你所不知道的中国。
6月3日起，江苏广电总台、英国广播公司视觉盛宴同步引爆。大国风范，中国国远，邀请您收看《你所不知道的中国》。
Here in northeastern Liaoning Province, winter can be harsh. For months, almost nothing grows on these frozen plains. Except for one surprising product, more commonly associated with the Mediterranean: grapes. But these grapes make something special: ice wine.
Ice wine's made from frozen grapes, and the freezing process concentrates the acids and the sugars in the fruit, giving the wine an intensely sweet flavor. So even in this raw state, you can really taste the difference. It's so much stronger. It tastes like a raisin.
Here, summers are warm, but the winters are bitter. Perfect conditions for making ice wine. So perfect, in fact, that a third of the world's ice wine is now produced right here. Strict rules also surround the harvest. International standards mean that the temperature must be at least -8 degrees centigrade for 24 hours. And while they wait, the grapes could go rotten or be invaded by fungus. So, to avoid disaster, they need to be ready to harvest as soon as the conditions are right. At daybreak, it's all systems go.
It's -10, so we're good to go. Now these are the crates, they're from the winery and they need filling up. The village is all here to help and there's a real sense of urgency in the air. Hey, can I help? Can I help?
I'm joining an army of pickers. And it's more complicated than it looks, as Farmer Chong Pei Fu shows me.
Here? Look at that beautiful bunch of frozen grapes. So do you always need to pick them by hand?
冬天吧比较金贵，然后呢用机器剪就浪费的特别多。
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Who's been picking the most? Is this a competition? Sorry.
The grapes grown here are a variety called Vidal, chosen for their hardy properties. As soon as the grapes are picked, they are transported 5 kilometers here to the Chateau Changyu Ice Wine Company, the largest producer in China. This is a European-style chateau that wouldn't look out of place in Bordeaux. During the harvest, this plant works 24 hours a day. High-powered presses squeeze out the juice, which is only a fifth of that produced by fresh grapes. And it's put into gigantic fermentation tanks where yeast is added. And then all that's left to do is wait.
2 years after the grapes were picked and the wine is ready to be bottled. Now each one of these bottles contains the juice of a staggering 2.5 kilograms of grapes.
These bottles will grace connoisseurs' dinner tables across China and increasingly across the world in this ever more international industry. After my hard day harvesting, I'm more than ready for a glass of wine. So I join Mr. Zhang, the technical manager of the plantation, in the bar.
I can't wait. Oh, that's really good. It's sweet, but not too sweet, and it's really quite refreshing, those.
我们这个冰酒的话，它这个酒的话，我们可以把它当做天使的眼泪。
I'll toast to that. Go, babe.
In one of the most northerly points in China, an industry of an entirely different kind is just as reliant on the cold weather. Visitors to the town of Heihe in the far north of Heilongjiang Province would be forgiven for thinking they'd already crossed into Russia. Located right on the border, there are Russian influences everywhere you look.
Right now I'm standing in China, but it's extraordinary to think that Russia is just over there, only a 5-minute ferry ride across the river. Or if you're in the middle of winter, a bus ride across the ice.
It's this very frozen river, along with the town's frozen climate, that brings cars from all over the world to Heihe, in disguise. These strange-looking vehicles are actually the latest prototypes from all the leading manufacturers. This one could be a BMW, and this one could be a Mercedes. They're not on the market yet, and that's why they're kept very much under wraps.
Apparently the locals call them zebra cars, but when you consider that to develop a new car costs millions, if not billions of dollars, you kind of understand why these car companies would want to keep their rivals' beady eyes off their newest assets.
And these clandestine prototypes are heading to one place. A test place just outside the city called Red Valley River. Here they'll be carefully analysed to see how they function in an extreme cold environment, one of the harshest on the planet. 10% of the cars being tested here are foreign. Due to trade secrets, this place is often heavily guarded, and we're the first film crew to be granted access to this secret location. And away from prying eyes, things really get interesting when the mask comes off. The car that's in the spotlight today is the latest SUV, From Chinese car giant BAIC, named the BJ20, it's made in Jiangsu Province and evolved from a design used by the military. I'm meeting Chief Engineer Geng Jing.
我跟这个车已经接触2年了。
你对这个车的感情肯定很深的吧？
我感觉这个车就像爸爸和儿子的感觉。对这个车，我们是非常用心也非常狠。
This car has already been put through a raft of tests. It's been to Hainan Island for tropical endurance, Tibet for altitude, and Xinjiang Province for heat and dust. And now the final hurdle, testing in the cold, starting with the basics.
我们要测试发动机冷启动。
怎么测试呢？
把车放在这儿1个晚上，明天早晨再看它能不能正常的运转。
With overnight temperatures as low as -35 degrees, this is a serious challenge for many of the car's systems, especially the battery. After a night on the ice, if it starts here, it will start anywhere.
寒冷的温度下，这个电池会受什么影响呢？
电池就像我们手机电池一样，在低温下，电压会明显的降低。如果低到一定程度的话，它就不能再启动发动机了。
这样的。
蓄电池的电压，现在电压是否正常呢？
电压是2.8，
是正常的啊。
可以的啊。
可以的。我们需要在10秒之内将发动机启动这是我们的最低要求。
Geng's hoping the car's powerful electronic starter motor will cope with the extreme cold.
那咱们启动一下发动机吧。
Moment of truth.
准备计时。
You got it. 恭喜啊！刚才多快啊
？2.41秒。
哟，不错。
2/3 of the tests here specifically look at how the car drives on the snow and ice tracks created on the frozen river. Yang Hui is one of the 300 professional test drivers working at the site. Over the past decade, she's test-driven 70 different prototypes. Today, we're going for a spin to test the BJ20's electronic stability program, the systems that help stop the car sliding off the road.
拔紧这儿，所以不要害怕啊！
哎呦，我不知道。好，走。
东北的女孩子喜欢骑马的，然后也喜欢车像风一样的这个速度，所以就是很喜欢开车了，非常喜欢。这个跟我的性格又喜欢又息息相关。
A central computer monitors Young's driving and compares it to how the car is responding. If she gets in trouble, the car will take over.
Here we go on the ice.
One of the biggest challenges for any car is straddling 2 different road surfaces, meaning the tires on each side of the car have an uneven grip.
最难的就是我们现在开始的这个冰雪对开，一半在冰上，一半在雪原上，这个是最难操控。
To compensate, the car's stability systems vary the power delivered to each wheel, which prevents the car from skidding.
我再回来。
哎，你完全控制住了。
对的，如果我们操控的不好的话，我们的车会很容易侧翻出去。
Oh, hey, that was nice.
Car manufacturers from all over the globe are drawn to this remote frozen river.
She's good.
Transformed into a world-class test track.
操控现在开始了。
Northeast China is definitely a challenging place to live, but it's striking how the people here have managed to adapt this harshest of climates into a unique resource. Next time, we're in China's sophisticated east, home to the biggest online shopping event in the world and the fastest supercomputer of all time.
Everything looks like it's been dusted with icing sugar. It's like a scene out of a fairy tale.
大腿。
I want to make Zipao, like the design looks more young, more fashionable.
I think you could be the future.
Let's respond to that.
Yeah.
This is bonkers!
Now that was fast.
I've had a whale of a time and I feel it has been so cool.
China is an incredible country, and I don't think you realise that just from reading it.
中国这么大，永远读不完。
跟我一起发现
你所不知道的中国。
如果不是你所不知道的中国，我们很难想象到，普通家庭也能享受到英国女王同款冰酒，也想象不到各种汽车在上市之前呢，都要在东北的冰天雪地上演《速度与激情》。雪乡也或许让不少人有了冬季旅游新目标。如果对自然科学感兴趣呢，你也可以通过恐龙化石感受到万物进化的神奇。而这些还远远不是全部，讲述中国故事，塑造中国形象，你所不知道的中国探索之旅还在继续。下个礼拜六的同一时间，请锁定江苏卫视和荔枝新闻客户端，跟我们一起前往东部地区。